This video is brought to you by the FMB shop, where you can find some of the best Scale 400 models. Find the link in the video description below. Now, one thing is for certain with Gemini Jets, they do not lack self-confidence when they announce their aircraft models, but when I think back to the last Gemini Jets model I reviewed, that might be a little bit too much self-confidence. But how have they done with this aircraft model? Well, we will find out thanks to the great prices of the FMB shop. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a Boeing 747-8F of UPS. At the front of the box we have a lovely, image or schematic of the aircraft, and we have the UPS branding. Then for those who don't know what they are buying, it says here look inside, so we can open up the box. And that reveals a cutout, so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside. And what it also does is give us this little page here, where we have some background information about the aircraft. We have again some schematics and some additional information about the aircraft type itself. On the back side of the box, we then again have a rendition of the aircraft, and then we have quite some big statements here from Gemini Jets, as real as it gets. And that's not just a statement, this is actually trademarked. But that's not enough for Gemini Jets, they have even more bold statements here on the backside of the box. And I have nothing against confidence, but one thing is for sure, when you put that much effort into, trying to convince collectors that your product is superior to others, you need to back it up. But can they? We will find out in this review. And here she is, the Boeing 747-8F in the current standard livery of UPS. Now, one thing is for certain, freight aircraft usually have quite a bit less detailing than passenger aircraft, so it is quite important that the die-cast manufacturer then puts extra effort into these freighters to make them look good. And we will find out in this review how Gemini Jets has done with the aircraft and if they can really live up to all these bold statements they have on the box. And the best way to do so is simply by going through the aircraft from one end to the other, starting off with the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer find the UPS branding. Also on the horizontal stabilizers we have a little bit of printed detailing here. Then on the fuselage we have the full registration code of the aircraft, and given that this is a freighter, we of course also find the main cargo hatch here at the back section of the fuselage. And then towards the very tail of the aircraft we also have some lovely detailing around the APU exhaust. Then at the front of the aircraft and across the fuselage we have the UPS slogan Worldwide Services. We find a plethora of small hatches and static ports, and also, for example, some lovely detailing in the cabin door. And I think those are the details I'm really talking about when I say it's important to add what you can, because, for example, a passenger aircraft has cabin windows, and that adds a lot to an aircraft model, and with the freighter that's all gone, so all these small hatches become even more important. So I think Gemini Jets has done a lovely job here. Also, the cockpit section I think is really nice. Here we, for example, have the emergency hatch for the cockpit above the cockpit windows. Then, of course, we do have the mentioned cockpit windows with the window wipers. And we have loads of small, sensors, petro tubes and stuff like that. Or, for example, the circular marking around the radome, or the markings for the nose cargo hatch, which in this case, of course, can't be opened because it's not an interactive series. But also underneath the nose, for example, the UPS branding. Quite lovely. And it's a similar great story when we look at the engine ourselves. They have been kept in all white, just as most of the fuselage, but we do find the silver leading edge and plenty of safety markings and small hatches printed on. That's also really great. And also the physical detailing overall I think is quite lovely, especially with the chevron nozzles. They have been pulled up very nicely. And also here from the front, very nice, you can see the engine fan blades. Then we can move on to the wings, which we should also take a closer look at, starting over the top side where we have the different flap slats and spoilers carved out very nicely, and we have the markings as to where to walk on the wing as well printed on. The underside of the wings gives us more nice physical detailing. My personal highlight, however, on the wings is the addition of the landing lights. Now, before we take a look at the remaining details, there is a quick message from our sponsor today. Are you looking for new Scale 400 models? Then look no further, the FMB shop has got you covered. With NG models, JC Wings and Gemini Jets, the FMB shop has got some of the best models in the business. And even better, with day one discounts, pre-order discounts, and every now and then special offers, and with what I like to call prices like in the good old days, the FMB Shop website and Instagram account are always worth a look. They do of course also have scale 500 and 200 on offer. And don't forget, Christmas is just around the corner, so find your next favorite aircraft model or the best Christmas present of this year by following the links in the video description below. Now, so far so good. However, now we do come to what I believe is the weakest part of the aircraft model, and that is the landing gear. That is made entirely out of metal, except for the wheels themselves. They are of course made out of plastic. We have wheel caps. That does look great, but when you are adding to your box as real as it gets and even trademark that and talk about realistic metal landing gear, then I expect better than this. This is shoddy, this is bent, this is not looking very nice. And sure, you have added printed details to the front landing gear, which is great, but it cannot cover up the overall really terrible state of the landing gear. On the belly of the aircraft, you can then see we have a few more printed details related to the landing gear. That's great. Unfortunately, we do have a hole in the fuselage. There is no stand included with this aircraft model, so it makes no sense, but at least it doesn't destroy any printed details. And then when we look at the top of the fuselage, we can see an array of physical antennas and even more small printed details indicating, I guess, set domes. And here I think we're getting back to territory where things look quite lovely. And then of course we should also not forget to mention the remaining cargo hatches of the aircraft with some lovely detailing here at the back of the aircraft and also here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 747-8F in the current standard livery of UPS from Gemini Jets and scale 1 to 400. And what can we say about this aircraft model? Now, I talked about the importance of not leaving away any details with freighters because they just have less to show compared to passenger aircraft, and I think Gemini Jets has succeeded with that. They have done a lovely job when it comes to the amount of printed details we find across the aircraft, and also the physical detailing of the 747 is overall really nice. Lovely antennas, the engines look really nice indeed. The biggest letdown here is of course the landing gear, which is really shoddy. I mean, again, for having so bold statements on the box, the delivery really needs to be there, and the landing gear really does not. But unfortunately it gets even worse because what Gemini Jets delivered here is, well, not just an aircraft model with shoddy landing gear, but also with a loose wing. And again, we come back to these really bold statements. I mean, they go even to the length of trademarking as real as it gets. And I can promise you the 747 does have 2 attached wings, not just 1. And it's a real shame because it really does fall back to these really bold statements. And I have nothing against being confident, but when you are that confident, you also really do need to back it up. And I don't think Gemini Jets does it there. And that's a shame, especially because the rest of the model is nice. The print quality is great. All other remaining physical detailings are great. This is not a bad aircraft model. It just can't quite live up to what Gemini Jets promises on the box. So my advice would be Gemini Jets focus less on trademarking bold statements and focus more on the quality of the aircraft model. And with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like, and if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? With that, thank you so much for watching, hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.